Hey guys, I'm going to be replacing the water pump on my 02 7.3. Just wanted to share a how-to video. As you can tell, I've got quite a bit of upgrades on this truck. Bigger injectors, bigger turbo, regulated fuel return. Everything's powder coated. But the problem I'm having right now, as you can see, so the problem I'm having is technically not the water pump, but it's going to be the water pump gasket at the very top around 12 o'clock. A little bit to the left over there. But primarily it looks like, as you can see, I've got pressure on the system, but it looks like it's leaking from the gasket on the back side of the water pump. It appears to be leaking around here. So, looks like it got gashed up a little bit. I gotta make sure that's nice and smooth. But that's an OEM water pump. It's only been on the truck for about 2 years now. And it's intermittently leaking. Hard to catch. I just saw residue one day. So I went ahead and put pressure on it. I overpressurized it. Put 20 psi. It's been obviously dropping. But looks like I'm going to have to go ahead and just replace the water pump. I've got a Gates here. I didn't really see much of a, obviously with only got 2 years out of the Ford, and it was a gasket failure, appears to be. So I'm probably going to replace the water pump, put the new Gates on it, and maybe put this in the back garage as a backup. It's probably what I'm going to do. Order a new gasket for it, so if it ever happens again, I can swap it out with the Ford one. Alright guys, so another easy tip here. These blue buckets here, they're like car wash buckets. I think I got them at AutoZone or whatever it is. They've got the gallons all the way up to 6. I used to use them for my shop, but they work awesome. They also have little pour edges. They work way better than 5-gallon buckets. So I still have pressure on the system, so this thing might be a little upset when I open this up. Yeah. But that's going to help me get the coolant out of this truck quicker. So first step, got my air chisel. I've got this edge of the air chisel kind of sharpened, and then I put a blunt edge on it, so it kind of bites into the fan clutch here. Sorry, move the camera around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start about somewhere there. I'm going to try to do this with the camera. Try to get a little line going here. Alright, I got a line going. So you see that, guys? It leaves a little bit of mark. They do make special tools for it, but as you can see, it's going to come off. And that, my friends, is a new Ford fan clutch as well. I've taken it off a couple times, as you can see, but that has Loctite on it. Usually it's not going to come off that hard. Hey guys, my attempt to do it without removing the fan shroud and fan had a little bit of damage on the radiator, so before I start poking holes into it, I was able to you know, probably finish it, to be honest with you, but just a couple more bolts and a couple more hoses, and I don't have to worry about replacing the radiator. Alright, so anyway, this is where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and I've already loosened up those 4 bolts on the water pump pulley. And after this, I'm going to go ahead and remove the serpentine belt and start removing all of the hoses and fittings that are attached to the water pump. And should be pretty straightforward after this, guys. Belt, super easy. Probably do it with one hand. So lift up, it loosens, and then all you gotta do is that top pulley there, the smooth one's easiest to get off of. So there we go, on to the next. Alright guys, so basically this is the side-by-side comparison. Motorcraft, it's nasty looking, versus the Gates. So all I got to do now is I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on these two bolts here. The seal's already installed on the back side. I'm going to reinstall thermostat. I got to pull a plug out for my coolant filter adapter hose. The new Gates came with, looks like a hydraulic O-ring boss to what appears to be a pipe. I'm assuming this is for the old body styles. So you got an O-ring boss fitting here on the top, and then it looks like a standard pipe thread on the top for an adapter. So I won't be using that. I'll probably save that as a nifty tool for a project or something later. But I'm going to get all this buttoned up and then put it back in the truck. Another quick tip. So O-ring boss, it's recommended you not put any kind of thread tape on these threads. The seal is going to be the O-ring. Don't try to do thread tape and the O-ring. Doesn't usually end up working out. But as you can see, that O-ring on the old fitting is pretty flat. And obviously I have a brand new one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut that off and grab the new one and swap it over. Just so I don't have any more leaks. This thing's done one time, done right. I've got the water pump in. Super important to note that there's some smaller bolts. There's basically three sizes. Three long ones, one middle-sized one, and what appears to be 4 short ones. So can't really mess it up. They physically can't really be interchanged. But it's super important to note that it's a good idea to put them all in by hand, make sure they don't come out, wiggle it around, make sure it's seated good, then go ahead and start doing the torque sequence. Because if you were to go ahead and tighten this side without those bolts being in, very likely that they're not going to line up. So just wanted to show you that. Alright guys, so I got the fan shroud and fan in. As you can tell, it's right there at that binding point, and you can see the blue Loctite. So there's a notch right there. Looks like I had reinstalled the fan clutch at one point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the air chisel. I'm going to put it right in that notch. Hopefully you guys can see that on the edge there. I'm going to angle that right at the notch. I'm going to turn it clockwise to lock this fan clutch down onto the water pump. Once I'm done with that, big fat hose clamp there, or zip tie there. Reinstall this hose. I'm going to put a new coolant filter on. Bought a new one, and then reinstall the coolant tank. Once I'm done with that, I'll show you how handy that coolant bucket is, and I'll have to burp the system and test drive it. So I'll show you that here shortly. So what I'm going to do, set my elbow down here, come in from the side. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and start pouring. It helps a lot if you can curl a lot. I don't know what the math is on 4.5, 5 gallons of coolant, but this shit's heavy. So it's going to burp. So right now I'm down to about 2.5 gallons. Alright guys, so as you can hear and see, I got the water pump done. It's installed. I made a little bit of a mess here whenever I removed the water pump from the engine. I did my best to catch it all in the bucket. But as you can see, job's done. Pressure checked, held. I went ahead and poured all the coolant in it. Sure, good as gold. Man, that thing idles good. It's got single shot injectors in it. Like Baby Yoda. Cool, I got the heat on. Truck's warming up. Thermostat should open soon. Coolant level should drop. My job here is done. On to the next project.